Now, another way of making up a story from another story is that you take that story and everything that's in it, you turn it around and you make it into opposites. So if it's Jack and the Beanstalk, well, here are the 5 questions of who, where, what, why and when, beginning, middle and end of the story. So what we're going to do is, well, who is it going to be? Well, if it's a boy as Jack, then it's going to be a girl who could be called Jane. Right? And it's Jack and the Beanstalk, so instead of going up, she will go down. And it could be a tunnel or a pit or a cave. So Jane, the cave, okay, in a dark cave. Jane and the cave, and Jack is a lazy boy in the story. So she could be a hard worker. So put that in. Someone who works hard. Hard work. And if you think about it, in Jack and the Beanstalk, that they're very poor. So we could say that she's rich. So straight away, you've just taken that story and almost turned it up on its side or on its head. And you've got Jane, who goes into a cave, she's a hard worker and she's rich. And yet again, I've done them in different colours so that the children know that from these, that Jane is written in black, the cave's written in blue, she's a hard worker is written in red, so they know how to use these words. And if you think of it as the first sentence, Jane was a girl who had to go inside of a cave. She always worked hard, and for all of her hard work, she found that she was rich. Different story, but again, it's just using the skeleton of Jack and the Beanstalk to try and make it just slightly different. Well, where? Well, we've already said a cave, so where could they be? If you think about Jack and the Beanstalk, they live in a village that's far away from London. So where could they live? They could live in a city. A city. Well, you would always say, what kind of a city? So, like a huge city. So let's put that. A city that was huge. And it's busy. We'll say, yeah, so it's a busy city. And what was she doing at the beginning? Well, if you think about Jack, he was always lying in bed. So what was she doing? She was perhaps, I'll put it in a different colour, we'll say that she was up early and working. And it was a cow in the story. Now, I'm not saying that a sheep's exactly the opposite of a cow, but we could say that up early and herding sheep. Okay, so Jack and the Beanstalk, Jane and the cave, hard worker, rich, up early, herding sheep. Why was she out herding the sheep? Not because she was told by her mother, but because she wanted to, because she liked to do it. Why? Because she liked to work. Again, if the children say, I don't know how to write the word work or liked to work, you say they are the blue words right beside the Y. She liked to work, and Jack had to go to market and he had to walk along a road and he didn't want to walk, so we could say that she ran. She ran as she herded the sheep. And when did it happen? Well, in Jack and the Beanstalk, it usually starts early in the morning. So we'll say it was late in the evening that she went out. She liked to work, late evening, and you know, I've got to say I've read several versions of Jack and the Beanstalk, and there's not one of them that mentions unpleasant weather. So let's say that it was raining. Can you see what happens? That when you use the different colours, the children will look and they'll see a word here that starts with an R and a word here that starts with an R. But what you can say to them is, it's not the short word that's written in red beside the Y, it's the long blue word at the end of the line beside the word when. So straight away, just by taking the story, turning it on its head, you've got this as a part of the story. Jane lived in a cave and always worked hard, and for all of her hard work, she found that she was rich. Right beside where she lived there was a city, a huge city, where everyone was busy. But Jane would get up early. She would want to herd her sheep, for everyone needed wool, and everyone would like some of that beautiful sheep's milk cheese. She liked to work, and instead of walking slowly, she would run. And on this late evening, as the rain fell down, that's a different story. But here we go. At the beginning, well, what happens at the beginning of the story? Jack is given some beans. He's tricked. Well, let's say it's the opposite. She goes and she finds coins. She gets the coins straight away, and she finds that her mother isn't unhappy with her. Her mother is pleased. Mother's pleased, and instead of being sent to bed without any supper, they have a huge meal. Now, one of the things you could say that she gets these coins, and Jack and the Beanstalk, you've got it so that he's fooled. Well, it could be that Jane fools somebody, not necessarily because she's evil, but because she's found a way of somebody who didn't know how much the sheep were worth. So she feels bad about that. It's bad about that. So now we have the middle of the story where she returns. So she's going to go back to maybe give more sheep, or give the gold back. And at the end of the story, well, I certainly wouldn't recommend that what you do is you make it so that they live unhappily ever after. It could be that she meets, not a man dressed all in green, but meets the woman who says it was like a test. And let's try a different colour. A test for her honesty. Alright. So instead of Jack and the Beanstalk, we have Jane. Jane lived in a cave and always worked hard, and for all of her hard work, she found that she was rich. This cave was in a city that was huge and always busy, and every morning she would get up early and herd her sheep, for everyone needed the milk and everyone wanted wool. She liked to work, she ran to work, and one late evening when the rain was falling, she met someone, a woman, who gave her coins, a lot of coins for all of the sheep. Her mother was pleased and the two of them had a huge meal. But Jane felt bad. She wanted to go back to give the gold back to the woman who had bought the sheep. And when she did meet that woman, she gave her even more gold, because this had been a test to find out how honest she had been.